Hi everybody, welcome to episode 7 of That's a Wrap, What's Next? Today we're going to have a different style of episode because I am completely on my own. I know, this is insane, this is crazy to imagine. The whole premise of the podcast is that I talk to someone else and interview them, and now I'm interviewing myself. How odd. Basically, I'm nervous, wish me luck. Okay, so I got a bunch of you to send me questions on my Instagram, that's Wrap What's Next on Instagram, and thank you so much for sending questions because I honestly don't know what I would have done if you guys didn't. So I'm very glad that that's happened. Oh my God. So I've had a few people asking me to do an episode like this where it's just me without a guest. And I was reluctant at first because the whole premise of the podcast is to talk to other guests. But I guess it makes sense if people don't know who I am and want to understand who is doing all these interviews because fair enough. Me and you, baby. Me and you. Question 1. What sparked the start of this podcast? I love this because picture this. You just graduated acting school, you don't have an agent, and you haven't booked any acting jobs. And you've just gone from doing 2 years worth of endless acting work to completely nothing. Picture that, right? So then I'm here and I don't know what to do with myself. And then I hear Brittany and Peter, they have a podcast that you can check out. I'm pretty sure it's called Brittany and Peter Podcast. But they have a podcast. They do it at Bella Vista Podcast Studios, which is where I am today. And they sparked my interest in doing podcasts. And then I realized that this venue is free because my biggest concern would have been money considering I didn't have a job. And then I was thinking, well, for a very long time in my life, I've been thinking, what's a way I can start making money where I can do things in my own time so I don't have to work for somebody else? What are ways that can happen? And what's always come to mind is YouTubing or like having an online blog or something like that, or, you know, podcasting. And so I've just been ruminating on ideas that would keep me connected to the industry, but also be a way that I can work for myself. I'm not getting paid for this at all, but I hope in the future that one day I'll get paid and then I can pay my guests and, you know, the audience has to make that happen. So hopefully we can do it. And I was literally in the shower. I literally had a literal shower thought. You know, people say, oh, I had a shower thought. No, I had a thought in the shower about this. I'd had a few conversations with my friends, like, since we'd graduated saying, oh, I wonder what everyone's doing. And I want to know what every single person is doing every single day. I definitely remember Georgie saying that. She was in episode 3. Anyway, I remember her saying that quite a bit. And I was like, that's so true. Like, there's so many of us acting or filmmaking or doing music. And unless someone is like a famous actor and they're being interviewed on, I don't know, the Backstage in the Envelope podcast or something like that, I'm not really aware of too many other podcasts, especially in Australia, that interview creative people, specifically acting, filmmaking, music, in terms of what their processes are or what they're doing to keep busy and things like that. And the people at this stage of their careers, which is the stage I'm at, where we're kind of just slowly building our CVs, slowly getting to know people, slowly doing as many auditions as we can. You know, you're just slowly building up. It takes time unless you're one of those very lucky people that, you know, 1 in a million. And so I thought, we're all doing amazing things. It's not like we're all just really mediocre with what we do and we're not just kind of occasionally chucking an audition up. We're all actively doing our very best. And so why would we not celebrate that early on in our careers? And so that's kind of how this sprung about. I thought instead of interviewing the famous A-lister actors, even though we love them so much, I want to interview the people kind of at their early stages of their career. 1, so we can see how cool it is once they grow, and then you can come back to their episode and be like, oh my God, I remember when they just finished their training and, you know. And 2 is so that we can keep everyone in this space feeling encouraged and feeling empowered and feeling like they can continue to do good work. So basically, I wanted to create a community with this podcast, and I wanted it to be a community for the people like myself who are doing their best and are just waiting for, you know, the break or waiting for all their jobs to start paying them for their actual creative work, you know, because a lot of stuff we're doing at this stage is unpaid. So it's just, I wanted a community for that, and I wanted a place where we can all kind of share notes and share ideas and collaborate, meet new people. This was my way of kind of reaching out to new other creatives that I haven't met, because most of the people I know are just from acting school, and you got to branch out as much as you can. You know, you got to meet as many amazing people as you can. So I've kind of used this podcast, 1, as my excuse to stay busy, 2, as my excuse to reach out to people in the creative industry. And 3, to hopefully make some dollars, make some bank in the future. Because quite frankly, I don't want to be working a casual job for the rest of my 20s. I'd prefer to do it on my own. So that was a really good question to start, guys. Thanks, Melanie Brosnan, for that one. Okay, before I go to more questions, I feel like I want to do a little rundown of my history of how I got here. Just so you guys all know my past, and then my past is just there for you to come back to if you get confused of who I am. So basically, I've been dancing since I was 2. My mum has a dance studio, Step in Time Talent Studio. It's amazing. Very fun-loving community dance kind of vibes. So I've been doing that since I was 2. And then when I was 12, we went to America. And until then, I'd been doing gymnastics. Like, I'd been doing state gymnastics, been like 12 hours a week of training. That was fun. That was great. But I stopped that after I went to America on a family holiday and we saw Matilda the musical on Broadway. And, you know, for me, that was just the moment. I just was like crying watching that show. I felt so much adrenaline, so much of that feeling you get when you see really good theatre. And my heart was completely set on this career. I made my dad buy me the CD and then I listened to it with my sister every night in the hotel, wherever we were staying, and we just listened to the Matilda soundtrack. And then I heard that it was coming to Australia and I was like, I have to audition. So then it was year 6, I think. And we got back and I found they were doing like open call. And it was my first ever live theatre audition, and I auditioned, and the auditions were at Brent Street, and I made it to like the dance callback. And then despite having danced since I was 2, I'm still not very good at picking up choreography. And they danced to Bruce Bogtrotter, the Bruce. I actually don't know any of the words. Whoa, Bruce. Anyway, banging song, so good. I'm probably going to listen to that on the way home now. But yeah, couldn't do the choreography, so I didn't make it past that. But then I auditioned I'm telling you this because it's like a trio. Then I auditioned for a pro-amateur production of Mary Poppins at Pakenham Theatre. And I made it to the callbacks for Jane. And I was in like the final 6 and I was like, oh my God, like who am I? This is amazing. And then I didn't get in. But apparently I was really close, but it was just because I was too quiet. So then we were like, okay, singing lessons. And then I did a bunch of singing lessons. I was still quiet. But then I auditioned for Annie at the Hills Musical Theatre Company. And then I got the role of Annie, and I shared that with Abby Thomas, who's currently in London studying opera. So I hope she can come on the podcast one day. I love you, Abby, if you're out there. We did Annie together. And then from there, I just did musicals. I ended up doing, in 2019, I was Belle in Beauty and the Beast, stuff like that, which was so fun. And then I applied for all of the acting schools. I applied for all the musical theatre schools. And they say, like, you won't always get in on your first round of auditions, like your first year. And I didn't. I didn't get WAPA, I didn't get VCA, I didn't get literally anywhere except Brent Street. And then it was either, because I'd applied for a few acting schools I'd heard about. Demi Louise used to teach me private singing, and she told me about Sydney Actor School, which she had been to. And so I applied there, got into Sydney Actor School, and decided to go there instead of Brent Street. I thought I could focus precisely on acting for a while. And it was like a smaller kind of group, and I just thought it would be nicer space to learn. And now I'm here, and my life's changed forever because I never thought I'd learn how to like write a show or, you know, be behind camera as well as in front of camera. And I didn't even really consider that I'd be doing screen acting in the first place. Just all of this crazy stuff. Yeah, now I'm here, and now I still want to do musical theatre, still want to do screen, still want to do theatre, still want to write, want to direct at some point, want to write music. Pretty much anything you can think of is my goal. And I'm loving life, and I'm loving where my life is going, and suddenly I'm going to get emotional about that, so let's not. Okay, what are my plans for the future with this podcast? I kind of want to keep it how it is for as long as possible. Some people have asked me, like, are you trying to reach up to different levels of people and like get to the celebrities? And I'm like, no, it's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep it at this level. I'm more than happy to kind of like reach up every so often to someone that's a little bit, you know, more well-known in the Aussie industry, or that's a little bit more established, because sometimes it's good to kind of like get that good advice from people and then bring it back down to people that are just starting out. But for the most part, I really just want to hear from people that have been doing this for like 1 to 5 years out of training, because that's kind of really interesting to me, is how every single person has a different journey, even when it's the same in the sense of they're just applying and just auditioning. Everyone's got the same sort of journey. Sorry, different journey. What is my 5-year plan is kind of a similar question. I wouldn't say I have a 5-year plan. For me, I kind of don't like to think much further than like a year into the future, because I like to leave the future years after that open to my magical dreams coming true. You know, like I like to think next year, hopefully going to go to Europe and hopefully going to get some acting jobs. And then, you know, year after that, I'm famous. And, you know, I like to keep it like that. Just that delusional kind of approach, I think, actually helps me, to be honest. And keeping that space open, going, I don't know what the future's going to bring. So I don't have a 5-year plan, even though that's probably smart and probably more business savvy. Some things you just can't do. And that's, for me, that's one of them. Who knows? Maybe I'll change. But for now, 5 years ain't it for me. Okay, I love this question. Has talking to other people on this podcast about their experiences helped me? Yes, so much. It's so validating to hear what everyone else has to say and what everyone else is doing to work on the subs. Because I don't know about everyone else, but for me, I'm constantly thinking, am I doing enough? Did I try hard enough on that audition? Did I do enough analysis on this script? Or in terms of film, like, do I know enough about cameras? Do I know enough about what I'm trying to do? Do I know enough about, you know, what I'm trying to create? Am I good enough? Blah, blah, blah. And so hearing other people talk about their things, it's just a good reminder that no one is perfect at everything, which tends to be my fatal flaw, is thinking that that's possible, which it isn't. Just that, I don't know, for example, hearing Luke in one of our episodes talk about just all of his cinematography and all of his passion for that, and just knowing that he's going through with his passion validated me to keep going through with my passion, if that makes sense. And when Flynn came on and he taught me a lot of technical things, like how he's producing his own music, how he does it all in his bedroom. And that was so inspiring to me. I just realized how much more approachable creating music can be. And that's actually what sparked me to decide to properly release my single this year, which I'm still writing, so don't get too excited. I don't know when that's going to come out. Very much trial and error with that one. But I'm excited anyway to test my musical abilities. Basically, yes, I'm learning a lot from everybody on this podcast that I'm interviewing. I'm even learning a lot just from having the podcast. I'm learning how to make a podcast. I've joined this kind of podcast program thing online to help make the podcast better for everyone. It's also good just for people skills and for me to kind of build my own confidence in talking to people, which is great. I think it's also helping me become a better listener in general, which you can never go wrong with that. So I'm loving it. I'm actually loving this podcast. The thing I don't love is the editing. So if anyone ever wants to edit my podcast, it takes about 5-6 hours. So if anyone's down, feel free to take that job for me. Okay, more questions now. Now we're kind of going into acting school questions, which I was I was praying people would ask these because I feel like I could talk about acting school for probably 20,000 years. So, okay, the first one from Where is Saskia? Thank you, Saskia, for asking questions. Is if you could change anything about the acting course you did, what would it be? I have always struggled with this question. I've had this before from just, I don't know, random people. I don't know what people, I can't remember. But I don't know, because Sydney Actors School was such a great school. It actually gave me so many things I never thought I needed. For those that don't know, Sydney Actors School, you're learning not only the acting side of everything for stage and screen, but you're also learning everything behind the scenes, which is why I've been able to co-write and shoot a web series, and why I'm producing a play this year, things like that. Because we learn how to produce, we learn how to film, we learn how to touch and use a camera, we learn how to set up lights, we learn how to use sound. I definitely didn't do well with that, but that's okay. You know how to do everything. And that's how now we can create our own work, which has been the biggest blessing from Sydney Actors School for sure. What I would change about it though? Oh, I think I would have added a Shakespeare unit. I think we were supposed to do Shakespeare, but the teacher we were going to have for Shakespeare had to go on tour. So we didn't do that. And then I think it was just, we didn't get enough time to find a replacement. So we just did a different unit instead. But I would have loved to do more Shakespeare. We definitely touched on it in other classes, but yeah, for me, I would have just added that in. But honestly, I wouldn't have changed anything else, to be completely honest. I loved it so much. Bianca asks me, is it hard? Is it hard to be so amazing and cool all the time? How do you keep up with it? And my answer is, I don't know, man. It's a struggle. Every day I wake up and I'm like, damn. It's just so hard being this lit. if me using the word lit doesn't tell you enough. Now, a bunch of these are from Aretha Madras Collins, who was also on the podcast recently, and she's amazing. I think she was last episode. Yeah, she was. Loved that episode, just saying. So you should check that out. She's asked me a bunch of stuff, random things, some about acting school, some about life. Ooh, okay. Advice for what to do when acting school stops. I've got like 5 kind of main tips that I've like picked up from everywhere. My first one is what we kind of all hear all the time, which is you've just got to learn how to deal with rejection as quick as you can. You've just got to, what is that phrase? Water off a duck's back. Is that it? I'm so scared I got that wrong. But yeah, I think that it's deal with rejection as best you can, do your research, work out, go to a therapist, do whatever you need to do. Just find a way for that to be something that isn't going to bring you down every single time. And now I've gotten to the point where I've done more auditions than I can count this year, and I've been rejected from most of them. And I don't even remember them because I'm just like, oh, okay, bye, moving on. Oh, okay, bye, moving on. I think that's really important, especially straight out of acting school, when you kind of think like your biggest dreams are going to come true. And then you have to kind of get grounded and remember that you have to think more practically than that. Not to say your dreams won't come true though. They are definitely on the way. Anyway, my second thing would be that you got to keep in contact with everyone you can, like agents, casting directors. I think even if they don't reply to you, like try to contact them again in 3 to 4 months, or try to go to an event that a bunch of people are going to be at. Just you need to keep being seen as much as physically possible, which is also the thing I think I need to do more of. Also, just keep seeing shows, keep being inspired, keep seeing movies. I think that's another thing I need to do more of. It's just crazy like how much there is. It's so hard to keep track of what you're going to go see next and do next. But I think it's so important because it's so easy to get stuck in like one kind of routine in your brain and then forget why you love this so much. My biggest thing would be to keep making your own work, like what I'm doing with this podcast, what I've done with the Book Nook, stuff like that. And all of my ensemble is kind of doing something similar where they're creating their own work. They're either writing something, they're filming something that they've created, they're doing scene work, they're doing self-tapes with friends. You just have to stay busy because otherwise you're not going to get a chance to practice unless you're just practicing monologues in your room. Like even that's good. I should probably do that. But you have to find a way to film your own content or to perform live in something, or even find friends that are doing projects where you can perform live. I think that's just the most gigantic thing. I don't think I'd even be coping right now because I don't have an agent, so I'm only getting auditions that I find. Oh, that'd be my other thing is if you don't have an agent, Star Now or Backstage are like actually life-changing. Like my life has already changed since downloading Star Now this year. Yeah, make your own work is the biggest thing. I can't stress that enough. I feel like that needs its complete own season. Like the amount of that we learned at Sydney Active School was crazy, and it's completely just changed my look on how this career can go. You're not just relying on other people to get jobs, you can make your own jobs, which is the most exciting thing in the whole world. So I love that so much. And it means you can do what you're passionate about. You're not kind of doing it for anyone else, you're doing it for yourself. So write a script, film it, just get better at everything, and you have an iPhone and it's good enough. It's not going to be Sundance Film Festival quality all the time, but you never know. And it also gives you a chance to send things to people like, hey, random agent, I have this, and here it is. Gives you a chance to talk to people, like an excuse. I was on a web series recently, and Bianca and I had released episode 1 of the Book Nooks already, and somehow it kind of came up in conversation with a bunch of different people like in the crew, and I ended up sending it out to like 3 or 4 of them, and all of them kind of like replied and were like, oh, this is great, like it's so good that you're doing this. And like now because of that kind of sparked like a connection between us, and now we're all staying in contact. So just if you have your own work, it just shows that you're passionate and shows that you're busy. It just gives you a chance to kind of have a better connection with people and show them that you really want this and that you're passionate and that you're always doing something. Oh, motivation tips. I think that's what I'm still learning. I think we kind of learn that for the rest of our lives as we change. But for me, it's at the moment, it's like learning to ride the wave of nearing burnout and nearing like hyper intense passion crazy mode. I started this year with this. I'm going to be very open here. This is embarrassing. I started this year because I was so scared of not having a schedule that I made a Google Calendar, and I outlined to myself each day like 8 a.m., go walk your dog for half an hour, and then, 8:30 to 9, have a shower, my shower would not be half an hour long. Anyway, 9 to whatever. Anyway, basically, I even was scheduling in like 1 to 2, do something fun. Like you can't schedule that. Like I had to learn very quickly that that's just simply not the way to do it. I've definitely had my moments this year of like complete and utter nothing. Like I've had days where I've just rotted in bed for like 2 days straight. And usually what gets me out of bed again is I go down like rabbit holes on YouTube of like watching actors be interviewed or watching like an analysis of a film or just like random TED Talks about life and happiness. And then I kind of eventually get inspired to get up again. But look, I probably have bad advice for motivation because for me, it's kind of like you just you just give yourself so much to do that you don't have time to stop, which isn't healthy. So don't do that. But again, I'm learning to go up and down and actually just consider how I'm feeling each day and how much I can handle each day. I think another big thing is don't overbook yourself. There's so many like small opportunities and you kind of feel, especially at the early stages of acting, that you want to take every opportunity possible. Same with music. Yeah, don't book yourself for everything because then you're just going to get exhausted from all of these like little projects. There are some that are good, some that you probably didn't even want to do in the first place. So just be careful of how you actually physically schedule your time in terms of I have to go here, I have to go there, I have to go there. I don't know. For me, I always overbook myself. So I need to learn that better. I got a couple of these. What is my dream role? Okay. It's pretty basic. I've always loved musical theatre and singing. I would love to be a Disney princess. I would love it so much. A new one. I don't want to do any of that remake stuff. I want to be a new, fresh Disney princess. Find me, I don't know, or a Disney princess in a musical. So it's like, you know, the character can be redone 100 million times. But then I have like a whole list of other dream roles. I think I'd love to be in some sort of show, like some sort of long-running season-based show, you know, like The Office or Friends or something like that, just so that you can kind of feel like a little family of actors for a long time and, you know, have some consistency in your life for a bit. That'd be amazing. And then I'd obviously love to be in like every single movie ever that's ever existed in every single genre. I'm really not picky, so I just want to act. And I would love to be in theatre shows. Like I don't have a specific dream role except for the Disney princess thing. I just want to be everywhere. And I think life's going to be too short because I just want to do absolutely every single thing that's ever existed. And I don't think we're going to have time for that, unfortunately. Okay, people that I look up to and that I want to work with. Everyone. I really want to work professionally with Janine Watson. We did our graduating play with her and Anna Houston. They were both directors we had at SAS. I'd love to work with them again. They were amazing. They were like life-changing directors. And I look up to, I'd say Demi Louise is actually a really big inspiration for me. She's taught me singing for a while and then she's given me a job teaching singing now. And she's just one of the most business savvy people I know. And she went to Sydney Actor School. And yeah, she's just an inspiration in terms of having a self-managed career. It's amazing what she's doing. And she's coming on the podcast soon, so I'm very excited. Oh, Andrew Garfield. If I worked with Andrew Garfield, I think I would die. Aubrey Plaza, Jenna Ortega, Emma Stone, oh my God. All my friends know that I suck though at knowing actors. I'm so bad. And same with movies. Like, have you seen this movie? I'm like, no, I haven't, but I've heard of it. Have you heard this actor? No, I haven't, but I've heard of it. And it makes me feel terrible because I swear to you, I swear I'm watching stuff. It just never seems to be the right thing. Whenever someone mentions it, I'm like, no, I haven't seen that. I think I don't watch movies enough. I tend to watch a lot of TV. But oh, there's so many people I'd want. I'm probably forgetting like 20,000 million people in Australia and just worldwide that I want to work with. So that's a huge question. What do I think is the most important when preparing for a role? Other than knowing your lines really well, I'd say it also depends on what the role is. Say it's a drama, I think it's kind of finding a personal connection. If you don't have the personal connection to the text, I think for me, I get a bit base level. Like I'll be quite base level if I haven't found my own deep personal connection to the text. If it's comedy, I think it's just knowing the rhythm as best you can, knowing the exact way that the jokes like are supposed to flow. Especially, I think it's really good. Bianca and I were just editing the Book Nooks today, and it's crazy how instinctual comedic timing is. We pretty much always have the exact same thought of like, oh, okay, cut right there. That would be the funniest point to cut. Yeah, cut right there. And it's just weird that we both feel the same thing. And then you also get that reaction we were showing her family as they were like walking past every so often, like, hey, look at it now. And they're like, oh my God, that's so good. So yeah, I think comedy, there is like an instinctual kind of rhythm to comedy. So I feel like for me, I'm still working on this a lot because comedy is really hard. But finding the right rhythm in the text is, yeah. What is something I wish I could tell my younger acting self? Okay. I think I'm just learning this. Even today, I was just thinking about this. I'm still trying to ingrain this message into my skull, is that you deserve to be there no matter how confident you feel. Because I've always felt really unconfident in singing. It got to the point where I think I've kind of done a disservice to myself in ways of thinking like, oh, I didn't get into musical theatre schools straight out of high school. I guess musical theatre maybe isn't for me as much now. You know, silly things like that and then you just keep telling yourself over and over. And I'm trying to like rebuild the confidence in myself for my singing now, that I'm worthy of doing auditions for musicals and I'm worthy of being in a musical if I want to be. Like, just because I'm not confident doesn't mean I'm not good enough to be there. Like, you kind of can't be the judge. You kind of have to let everyone else be the judge of, do I suit this show? Is my voice suited to this character? Obviously, I'll do the best to work on it, but I can't be the person that decides I'm not good enough, you know? Don't say no to yourself before someone else has said no to you, kind of thing. One of the questions is, what do I want to work on more? But I think I've just been spluttering that through this episode as I've been speaking. Things that surprise me on set when I've been on sets, other than acting school, so being on like actual outside of school sets. Oh, I think the biggest surprise was the wait time. It was insane to me how long I was waiting for things. And it's crazy to me that I thought I'd be tired from the acting, but I get tired from the waiting. That's something I never realized. Tips for self-tapes, that's fun. The best one we learnt from Pip Edwards is you should only try to give yourself 3 takes. Instead of getting stuck in like an 80 take loop, you end up usually liking one of the first ones anyway. And 80% is good enough. You don't always have to be 100% because you're just not like, you're going to be there for hours and hours trying to get an 100% self-tape, but 80% is still great work. So I think it's like not overthinking it too much when you send in tapes and trying to do like 3 or 4 at most. Hard to do, but worth doing. Saves you so much time and sanity. Am I going to be releasing any music? Yeah, I think so. I was talking about it with Flynn. He might help me produce my first song. My thing, I think, is just, I spoke to Georgie about this on her episode, is just knowing, you know, your style of music. What's my personal music kind of vibe going to be? And I think I'm still working that out. And I'm also scared to release my first one because to me it's like, oh, this is my first ever song. This is if people decide to listen to the second song or not. But I don't think so. I think every song's going to be different, and I think I need to kind of take that pressure off. I love to get some more musicians on here and talk about that kind of thing because I want to learn more about how you know that you've hit your style and how you know that it's something that you want to send out to the world. I don't know. Music seems big to me. When someone listens to your song, their feelings are going to be changed. And the music I tend to write tends to have more of a sad tone to it. And I don't necessarily want to be bringing sad music out into the world. Like in my head, I would have been someone to bring out happy music, but I don't really seem to write happy music. So it's a whole thing at the moment. Ooh, are there any crew roles that I really want to try? Ooh, I love that. Look, I think if I had all the time in the world, I'd love to be a DOP just because it would be so fun to kind of learn all of the practicalities of how to make a shot look the best and how to get the lighting to look the best. And, you know, just like all the technicalities of like cinematography are amazing to me. I'd love to like really focus on that for a long time. But I don't think I'd love to do that enough to take away like, you know, I'd want to go study it, but I don't know how badly I want to do that. But if I could just for a day kind of know everything about cinematography and go do a shoot, I think that'd be great. But I like learning little bits here and there as I go, which, you know, everyone on set kind of like teaches you things, or if you're watching closely enough, you're kind of learning as they go, which is really fun. I was also talking to some friends about this the other day. I'd love to experience what it's like to be someone that is sourcing the music for a film. I don't know what you call it. Music sourcer? Music scout? Like location scout? I don't know. Someone that's not composing the sound. I'd love to compose a soundtrack, but finding the music. Like, you know, when you hear a pop song in a film and you're like, oh, that song is perfect for this part. How are people finding those? Like, do you just spend ages on Spotify and get paid for it to like listen to music? I don't know how that works. I'd love it. Oh, that's really sweet. Okay. What is something outside of all of this stuff that keeps me excited about life? I'm kind of pausing with this one because I think majority of my life excitement comes from this industry. It's kind of my personal love at the moment, and I think it will be for a very long time. But I think it's the small things, which is great. I think it's literally the sun, and it's dinner and lunch, sometimes breakfast if it's good. And, you know, just seeing my dog, just all the little tiny things, and just seeing other people I love doing something good for themselves makes me so excited and so happy. Like I just had, Bianca the other day signed up for this graphic design kind of course. I don't know if that's what you call it. But we were telling her to do something like that for so long, and she finally did it. And I'm like, yes, go. So exciting. Yeah, I just think stuff like that is great. I love it so much. Okay, am I going to write any other scripts this year, and what genres do I want to explore? That's crazy because I've only co-written. I've tried writing my own solos. I have written a solo script. I wrote a short film last year that we made at acting school. How did I forget that? I love writing comedy. I think I like to stay in comedy, but there's always a part of me that's like, I'd love to explore kind of a coming of age, but do a really, really like a Ladybird style, or something that just feels like it really actually touches the souls of young people, you know, because I think sometimes you can kind of miss that mark. I'd love to explore, I don't know, I think for now those are the two kind of main genres I'd love to write. I'd also I would love to write a musical. I'd love to find someone that can really play piano, and I'd love for them to kind of transcribe the music, and then I write lyrics, and then we write dialogue, and I'd just love to co-write a musical. If anyone's interested in really co-writing a musical, if anyone's like amazing on piano, and look, I'm thinking to do this in like another year or two though, to start doing that. There's my 5-year plan for you. And then just put it on. Can you imagine like the process of you put it on in small little theaters, and you just invite your friends and family, but then everyone loves it, and then they talk about it, and then you invite people to like a slightly bigger venue, and then it just gets bigger, and then suddenly you're doing it on like an Australian stage, like with a big audience. It'd be so cool to see your show kind of grow from like indie to commercial, if that makes sense. I'd love that. It'd be so cool. I'd write a musical kind of in the style of Hadestown. Or like something like Fun Home, that was on a STC a year or two ago. That was incredible. That was amazing. Because it felt so acting driven. Loved that so much. Oh my God, are you joking? What is the title of my Spotify day list, and what songs are on it? Jeez, that's hilarious. From memory today, because I was listening to it in the car, it was like indie pop Wednesday afternoon, blah, blah, vibes, and it was like the Wallows, and there's a bit of Olivia Rodrigo in there, like her slower stuff. There was some Royal Otis in there. There was some Last Dinner Party. And then I was also listening to my musical theatre playlist. I was trying to get in the spirit of my acting past, because I knew I'd be talking about that. I know I didn't answer every single question, but I'm sure I'll do another episode like this and we can do more questions. And please, if you ever have questions about either a guest that's come on or something about myself, please ask. Don't be afraid. I love answering the DMs and everything, so please do continue that. Also, if you've been liking this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you left a review on Spotify or Apple Music. The reviews just kind of help the show to get seen by more people, which obviously we really want, so that'd be amazing if you could do that. Also subscribe on YouTube if you can. I'd thank you for the rest of my life. This has been crazy. Thanks for having me, everyone. And thanks for requesting this. I'd been considering it, but I didn't think anyone would be interested, and then everyone was like, do it. So thank you guys. I'm really enjoying this podcast journey. I never expected it. It wasn't a plan. Suddenly it just popped up this year, and on we went. So thank you so, so much. I really appreciate it. And I love you guys a lot. And I hope we can continue to be friends. I hope we're friends. And we've got some exciting guests lined up in the next few weeks. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time. That's a wrap. What's next? Dinner.